Namaskar. Welcome to this session. We were considering the sutra Heyam Duhkham Anagatam, and we were about to proceed to the next sutra, which mentions the Heyahetu. But before proceeding to that sutra, which is the topic for today, I finally want to say something on the sutra Heyam Duhkham Anagatam. From this sutra, the three sutras to follow, that is Heyam Duhkham Anagatam, Drashtru Drishyayoho Sanyogaha Heyahetu, and Tadabhavat Sanyoga Bhavo Hanam. These three sutras are going to cover the entire purpose of Patanjali's text. In Darshana Shastra, Prayojanam has an important place. And in mere three sutras, of course, stuffed with enormous purport, Patanjali is going to accomplish this purpose, which conventionally a Darshana Shastra needs to handle, and that is Prayojanam. So the three sutras are going to mention the Prayojanam of Patanjali's Darshanam. So what are these sutras? The 16th sutra of the Sadhana Pada, Heyam Duhkham Anagatam. The 17th sutra of the Sadhana Pada, Drashtro Drishyayoho Sanyogo Heyahetuhu. And the 25th sutra, Tadabhavat Sanyoga Bhavo Hanam Taddrushehe Kaivalyam. And of course, another sutra can be added which is called Chatus Sutri, Viveka Khyati Aviplavaha Hanopayaha. So Heyahetu Hanam Hanopayaha is the Chatusutri, so important in Patanjali's text. The point is that the three sutras which I suggested just now are going to mention the Prayojanam, and the 26th sutra, Viveka Khyātir Aviplavaha Anopayaha, is going to mention the sadhana, yoga sadhana, the means. So these are heart of Yoga Sutras in one sense of the term. So point is, here we were discussing in the 16th sutra, Heyam. What is avoidable? And again, let me repeat, it is not avoidable for you and me, we commoners and mortals, but avoidable in the eyes of Madhyama Adhikari Yogi, Madhyama Yogi. And as I said, for him, samsaram is heyam. And last time I told you about what is this samsaram, which is occupying our heart. Samsaram is not around us, it is occupying our heart. And for us, what is avoidable is klesha vritti. What is avoidable is Rajo Sanga. What is avoidable is Tamo Sanga. So these sutras do not have instruction for us, but give us a pre-sight, preview of what is going to be the means of yoga when we are through the run-up to yoga. When we have completed the run-up of yoga, then what will be the purpose of yoga for us? Today, the purpose of yoga for us is that not suffer in the worldly conditions, not suffer by this mortal body, which has Duhkham, which has uh, Jara, Vyadi, Duhkham. So we want to escape from these, or we want to be protected from these. And that is what we are doing. Why we are doing yoga has a particular answer which we have discussed earlier. But why a yogi does yoga is that he identifies the heyam that is mentioned here. So that is dukkha for a yogi. And what is dukkha for us is altogether different, which again we discussed in the last session. So, we are considering what is really essentially Duhkham, and that is anagatam Duhkham as per the sutra. So there are bygone experience of sorrow, ongoing experience of sorrow, and oncoming experience of sorrow. And this oncoming experience of sorrow is really avoidable. And that is what is being dealt. So let us finally take view of Vyasa's commentary here and try to understand what textually is being conveyed to us. So now we will be considering the Yoga Bhashya on this sutra before we proceed to the next sutra. So what Vyasa begins is that he says, Duhkham atitam upabhogena ativahitam na heya pakshe vartate. The Duhkham which is atitam, that is dukkha which has bygone, which is the dukkha of the realm of the past, which has gone to latency, doesn't really stand as avoidable class. Although it was to be avoided, it was not avoided, and we faced it, we faced the consequences, and therefore it doesn't really get classed as heyam. Why? Because the bhoga already has been taken up by us. So, वर्तमानं च स्वक्षणे भोगारूढ़म इति न तत्क्षणांतरे हेयताम आपद्यते. So also the sorrow, Duhkham, which is mounted on the time at this moment, at this juncture, is going to be experienced. We are experiencing and we will be experiencing, and there is no way to escape it. It is bhogarudham. Therefore, if you think of applying measures, it will be next moment that you will think of measure, and the following moment you will try to apply the measure, and then it is going to go. So it is the present moment sorrow is not really going to be eradicated in any case. So therefore, it is again not heyam. That is, it is not really avoidable. Then what is avoidable? Only that which is yet to be experienced. That is avoidable. And here he says, Tasmat Yadeva anagatam duhkham tadeva akshipatra kalpam yoginam klishnati na itaram pratipattaram. So, the anagata dukkha, the yet to come dukkha, the impending dukkham only will be hurting yogi, and therefore it becomes of the class of avoidable. Now, why does it hurt yogi? Because akshipatra kalpam yoginam. Yogi is akshipatra kalpam. The Viveki that we saw in the previous sutra, the 15th sutra, Parinama Tapa Samskara Dukkaihi Gunavrutti Virodhacha Duhkham Eva Sarva Vivekinaha. That Viveki, he now explains us as to why it torments us, because we are not tormented by the remotely futuristic sorrow. In our imagination, if something is going to be sorrow, if we imagine that the sorrow is upcoming, of course, then we are hurt by it. But the yogi is hurt by that sorrow which doesn't hurt us because we cannot imagine about it. It is basically he is Vivekin like being like tra-Kalpam. So that is why he is Viveki. What is tra-Kalpam? He is like eyeball. What is eyeball here? See, a soft and tender feather of a bird, which when braced to any part of the body, it gives a pleasing sensation. So for any part of the body, it is delectable and giving pleasure sensation. But if you try to move that feather on your eyeball, it is tormenting. So eyeball is something that nothing whatsoever that touches it is going to not give it comfort, any kind of comfort. So this Viveki, which was discussed in the 15th sutra, is netra golakavat. And therefore, that sorrow which we can't even imagine, we cannot even conceive, will be tormenting yogi, he being like an eyeball, and therefore he takes a preventive measure. We will never take a preventive measure. So, tadeva heyatam apadyate, and therefore it becomes heyam, it becomes avoidable. Tasmad yadeva heyam iti uchyate tasya eva karanam pratinirdisyate. And therefore the cause of pain, sorrow for such a yogi is being now mentioned. Our sorrow and its cause is not being mentioned because it is already mentioned in the Shastras, such as Rajastu phalam Duhkham. Rajoguna is our sorrow because it is going to bear out fruit in the form of sorrows. Rajo Sanga, Tamo Sanga, they are going to torment us. But for a yogi who is well past now Rajo Sanga and Tamo Sanga, there is not even an iota of Rajo Sanga and Tamo Sanga for him. Then what is the cause? That cause is being mentioned. So that's how he comes to the 17th sutra. Now there is a place for objection here. Quite logical objection here. And this is to be cited in Vijnana Bhikshu's commentary. So he presents this prima facie view. It's very interesting basis for argument. So what is this basis for argument? It is like this. That Duhkham, which is of anagata time, which is futuristic, of which we do not have any clue, that means it is not really existing at all. It is yet to come into existence. That means it is non-existent now. That which is potentially there, that means it is yet to come into existence. That means it is not in existence now. And if it is not in existence in now, what are you going to banish? Are you going to banish non-existent? Are you mentioning that the non-existent will be banished? So, from ontological point of view, something is not existing. That's called satta shastram. So, there is non existent pain, non existent sorrow, non existent Duhkham. Anagata Duhkham is something that is not in existence. So, if you think that the yogi is tormented, he is not really tormented because this is potential sorrow. So, potential sorrow can never give actual sorrow, and therefore, yogi is never sorrowed in any case because this is a potential sorrow. But the question comes up that if it is potential sorrow, it means it is not actual sorrow. So, it doesn't have entity, it doesn't have status. So, are you going to destroy that which is non existent? Are you speaking about annihilating the non existent? So, this is what the prima facie view is. And then, how will you have any proof to say that it has been averted? How will you prove that it will be averted by what you are doing as a measure, what you are taking as a measure? What is the proof to say that that sorrow is averted because the sorrow is non-existent? So you can never prove that non-existent sorrow has been mitigated or set aside. So this is a very forensic argument that comes up, and the Siddhantins now are answering it. It is true that yet to come pain cannot be substantiated by any witness, any testimony. It cannot be proved that this is the yet to come pain and it is certain to come. So we accept that it doesn't have status. It is not an entity. It is not at all an entity because that is futuristic sorrow. But what is being pointed out is the cause of such sorrow. We are pointing out at the cause of such sorrow, and we are not mentioning that the sorrow and that is eradicated or that will be eradicated. We are mentioning the cause of such sorrow. Because if the cause is there, it can come up at opportune point in time. So we are speaking about uchedam of the cause, uchedam of the bijam, uchedam of the seed. That is what we are mentioning. We are not mentioning the uprooting of a sorrow or terminating a sorrow or preventing a sorrow. We are mentioning that the cause of sorrow, if it is existing, the sorrow will come up any time. So we are not preempting a sorrow. We are not preempting and assuming a sorrow, but we are looking at the cause of sorrow. If the cause of sorrow is there, the sorrow is bound to come sooner or later. And we are speaking about that. We are speaking about the cause of sorrow, which is to be eradicated. We are not eradicating the sorrow, which is not actually there. Anagata Duhkham doesn't have entity. But we are identifying the cause of it in the seed form, and we are speaking about the seed to be banished, seed to be destroyed. And therefore, it's a perfectly a logical standpoint. Now, these days we hear about, this sutra means prevention is better than cure. You don't need Patanjali to tell you prevention is better than cure. You yourself can be telling the world that prevention is better than cure. We don't need Patanjali to tell us prevention is better than cure. Or even the advice can be there. What need not be endured be cured, and what cannot be cured be endured. So we need not need Patanjali to tell all these things. And these things have been told by the wise people. What need not be endured be cured, and what cannot be cured be endured. Wise people have told us. We don't need Patanjali. Nor is Patanjali telling us that prevention is better than cure. We don't need somebody of the stature of Patanjali to tell us about this. You and me can also be telling about it, and the world will accept it. No one will object it. What is being told is that the cause of pain, which is going to create sorrow in anagata time, in time yet to come, that cause can be destroyed. And if you destroy the cause, or if you set aside the cause, there will be no chance of sorrow coming up. Because the seed can give a sprout, but if seed is not there, or seed is taken to burnt seed state, then there won't be no sprout. And this is what is being spoken of. Patanjali is not speaking about the sorrow to be avoided. Precisely, he is speaking about the cause of sorrow to be avoided. The first and foremost cause of the sorrow to be avoided. And that is so important. The first and foremost cause, primeval cause, primordial cause, the first ever cause. And that has to be eradicated. That is what is being spoken. So it is not that the yogi is in sorrow. Duhkham eva sarva vivekinaha. It's not that he is experiencing sorrow, but he knows rather the seed of sorrow. That this seed is going to germinate sorrow. This seed is going to give sprout to sorrow. So he thinks of managing the very seed. The seed is always the first cause. So that's why it's a perfectly rational point of view that Patanjali is holding. So with this, we come to the end of delineation on this sutra. Finally, let me tell you, even Bhagavad Gita in the 18th chapter, when he says in that Charama Shloka of Bhagavad Gita 18.66, Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shucha. Lord Bhagavan Krishna tells Arjuna, worry not. I will destroy your all papam, that is Duhkham. Now what is that Duhkham? It is yet to come, which is in seed form. And mokshayishyami, I will liberate you from sorrow for all times, that you will never be touched by sorrow. So, that is what the sutra is telling us. And now, with this, we are opening out the portal for the 17th sutra, which is Drashtru Drishyayoho Sanyogaha Heyahetu. This is the first and foremost cause, primordial cause. What is this cause? It is not Rajoguna. That is the cause of sorrow for you and me. Tamo Sanga, Rajo Sanga, these are the causes of sorrow for you and me, mortals. But one who is on such a plane, who is called Yogi, who has this kind of predicate as a Yogi, the cause of his yet to come sorrow, because already there is no sorrow for him. The Yogi is in a sorrowless state. But therefore he is taking care of the yet to come sorrow. And there the cause of it, is therefore the first cause of sorrow. What is it? The cause of this heyam, the cause of this heyam, heyahetu, is the conjunction, the association, the coming together of the drashta and drushya. Drashtru drushyayoho sanyogaha. Drashtru means drashta and drushya. The seer and the seen. These are two categories which will be now spelled out subsequently. But here we can take the meaning that the conjunction, the association, the confluence or coming together of drashtru and drushya, the seer and seen, is the cause. So by word drashtru, Patanjali is meaning drashta. What is drashta? The seer. Drashta word has already been handled by us in the very earlier part of the text. When the samadhi was mentioned, yoga was mentioned, yoga was described. Tada drashtuhu swarupe avasthanam. So drashtru was already mentioned. So you need to go back there. What is this drashtru? That is the Purusha Tattva. So the conjunction with Prakriti, the seen category is Prakriti. So in simpler words, Prakriti Purusha Sanyoga is the cause. So that is how it can be explained in the first place, that Prakriti Purusha Samyoga is the cause of this sorrow. The drashta is the Purusha Tattva, and the Purusha is said to be Pratisamvedi of Purusha, and that is Drushya. So Bhasamana Chaitanyam, if you recall that description which came to you on earlier occasion, that is really the Drishyam. Drishyam not to be taken literally as the scene that is around your eyes. This is seen category within the consciousness, within the psyche, which is called Buddhi Pratisamvedi, Purusha Pratisamvedi. That is Purusha. And you should recall that analogy. What is this proximity of Drashta and Drushya, or Buddhi and Purusha? Buddhi is inert. It is Prakriti. It is inert. It is ancient, it's sentient. But just as the fire and fireball, when the iron ball is held in fire, after a while it becomes fireball, it becomes like fire. So the Buddhi, because of proximity with Purusha, becomes Bhasamana Chaitanyam. So when this entity of Bhasamana Chaitanyam comes into being, that is Drushya category, that is seen category. So the Purusha and Drushya, when there is a mix-up, which is Asmita Klesha, then that is the first and foremost cause. So this word Drushyam is described by Tattva Vaisharadi, Tadeva Buddhi Sattvam Shabdadyakaravat Drushyam. That is Chitta. So Purusha Chitta Samyoga, Purusha Buddhi Samyoga, Prakriti Purusha Samyoga. So these are very primary explanations which will tell us about the cause, the first cause, the primordial cause, primeval cause of sorrow. So So Bhashyakara explains drashta and drushya and also the kind of their sanyoga. Because the sutra says drashtru drushyoho sanyogaha heyahetu. So Vyasa commences drashta buddhehe pratisamvedi purushaha. The drashta is one who is cognizing the buddhi, and this pratisamvedana, as I just now explained, it is like magnet and iron particles. When the iron particles come in a magnetic field of lodestone, they also become magnetic. Or fire and iron ball. When the iron ball is held in fire, after a while it becomes red fireball, translucent. So that's how the buddhi becomes. When it is in proximity with the Purusha, it becomes seemingly sentient. And then there is a relationship established between the drashta and the drushya. The drashta and seemingly sentient buddhi. And that is the cause. That relationship is the cause. So the Purusha is drashtru. And he is sakala dharma viyukta. The Purusha Tattva doesn't have any attribute and characteristics or predicates. You can't describe the Purusha is like this, like this, like this, like this. Therefore, Purusha Tattva is always expressed in the way neti, 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 not this, not this, not this, not this, not this. But you cannot point out that this is Purusha. About Purusha, you can only say it is not this, it is not this, it is not this, so on and so forth. That is why Upanishads take recourse to neti, neti, na iti, na iti, na iti, not this, not this, not this. Because it doesn't have any attribute, it is nominal. So sakala dharma viyukta cannot give one single attribute or characteristic to this Purusha Tattva. It is such a marvel. And therefore in Sankhya, Purusha is said to be udasina. There is no pain and pleasure to Purusha. But then why is it that we have pain and pleasure? Because we give room to bhasamana chaitanyam, seemingly conscious principle, and that is tossed between pain and pleasure. Purusha essentially is abhokta in its metaphysical status. So, when this conjunction comes, now when did this conjunction come? The conjunction has been there from time immemorial, time without beginning. Anadi, what is described as anadi. The sambandham is anadi. The relationship, conjunction, contact, association is anadi. It should not be mistaken that it comes with the birth. It has been there before our birth. It has been there during all our births. And it has been there during our birth and death. They don't separate even at the point of death. They will never separate unless the moksha is attained, nirvana is attained. Until that time, there will be no separation. And insofar as the beginning is concerned, it is anadi, absolutely anadi, really anadi. And their conjunction is the cause. Now, what is this kind of conjunction? It is such a kind of conjunction whereby the insentient jada buddhi becomes bhasamana chaitanyam. Because the iron ball, as long as it is in fire, it will be a fireball. Then if you remove it from the fire, after a while, the redness of it will go away, fieriness will go away, opacity will go, the translucent nature will go away, it will then become opaque. When it becomes opaque, then you know it is an iron ball, black iron ball. But then, this is not the case where there will be disjunction at the point of death. The conjunction is always there. And therefore, it is anadi sambandham. And this sanyoga is of such nature. Just as iron ball becomes fireball, the jada buddhi becomes bhasamana chaitanya purusha. It becomes seemingly conscious, seemingly sentient. And of course, we had discussed this in that sutra where vritti sarupyam was discussed. And then, in this relationship, what happens is beautifully described by Vyasa in this sutra, in the course of commentary on this sutra. Tad etad drishyam ayaskanta manikalpam sandidhi matropakari drishyattvena swam bhavati purushasya drishirupasya swaminaha anubhava karma vishetam apannam yataha. So what happens with this proximity which has been there from time without beginning? Actually and really, absolutely from anadikala. Tad etad drishyam ayaskanta manikalpam. Ayaskanta manikalpam, like we saw the example of magnet and iron particles. As long as the iron particles are in the magnetic field of the lodestone, the magnet, there is magnetism in the iron particles. Once they are out of the magnetic field, the magnetism will go. But as long as they are in the magnetic field of the magnet, there will be magnetism even in iron particles. So that is what is being mentioned with ayaskanta manikalpam. Sannidhi matropakari, by just sannidhi, by just proximity. What happens? It becomes drishyam and swam bhavati purushasya. It becomes owned, it becomes property, it becomes possession of Purusha. By mere proximity, Purusha doesn't have any possessiveness. Atma Tattva doesn't have any possessiveness. By mere proximity, it gets the status as swam. Swam bhavati purushasya, and Purusha becomes the Swami. The Purusha becomes the master and it becomes servant. It becomes subservient. So because now it becomes seemingly conscious, and therefore we get the experience, I am happy, I am delighted, I am sorrowed, I am in pain, I am vexed, I am troubled, I am delighted, I am in joy. The metaphysical I doesn't have all this. It is this seemingly conscious principle which has all this clamor of experience. Why? It becomes possessed of Purusha. It becomes possession of Purusha Tattva. And therefore Purusha Tattva becomes the Swami, becomes the master. And Anubhava karma vishetam apannam yataha. And therefore its experience is reflected on the Purusha, and then it feels as if the Purusha is also in the same state, that is vritti sarupyam. So the words pratisamvedi is to be understood, which has come in the text and which we also discussed in that sutra vritti sarupyam itaratra in the first chapter. So the relationship, the sanyoga, is not just physical contact. So now the buddhi and the purusha, the swa and swami. Now the buddhi becomes paratantra, it becomes dependent on purusha. Its status as seemingly conscious is going to depend on purusha, proximity with the purusha. It is borrowed. The sentiency is borrowed by inert buddhi, and therefore it is completely dependent on purusha. Therefore it is swam, and the purusha therefore is referred to as swami. And therefore Bhashyakar says Anya Swarupena Pratilabdhatmakam Swatantram api Pararthatvat Paratantram. Otherwise, Prakriti is independent actually. Buddhi is independent. But with the proximity with the Purusha in human consciousness, it becomes the possessed. It becomes the property. It becomes owned. Owner being Purusha, it becomes owned. So that's how, that is the form of samyogam. It's not just contact, it is not just proximity, but it's the transformation of inert into seemingly conscious. And that has taken place right at the point in time which is beginningless, anadikala. And therefore the whole maya, we are engulfed by the whole maya. So that is the nature of this sanyogam, which Vyasa describes in this sutra. I recall wonderful passages from Upanishads, the Kathopanishad, very, very, very poetic. It says, Agnir yathaiko bhuvanam pravishto rupam rupam pratirupo babuva ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo baishya vayuryathaiko bhuvanam pravishto rupam rupam pratirupo babuva ekastatha sarvabhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahishya. So this is in Kathopanishad 2.2.9 and 10. These are the Shrutis from Kathopanishad. And they are saying that the fire doesn't have any shape and form. The fire doesn't have any shape and form. But when you see the fire in the shape of fuel. If the chair is burning, you see the fire in the shape of chair. If a table is burning, you see the fire in the shape of table. But the fire itself doesn't have any shape. But then, like Agni, the fire which manifests in several forms, several rupas and forms, but it itself is formless. Similarly, this bhutantaratma is formless, but wherever it is embedded in, it seems to be in the form of that. So also case of Vayu, air doesn't have shape, but the air takes the shape of container. Whatever is the shape of balloon or the air container, it will take that shape. Air will take that shape. It doesn't have its own shape. But then it will take several shapes. And similarly, this Atma is like the Agni or this Vayu. They themselves don't have shape, but they take shape. They seem to be taking a shape precisely. So is the case of this Atma Tattva, Purusha Tattva. So it is there in all manifest creation of various sizes, various forms, various shapes, and various colors, various dimensions. Atma doesn't have all that. It doesn't have those dimensions. It doesn't have that shape. But it seems to be taking a shape of human being, taking a shape of a cattle, bird, animal, plant, etc. It is because it doesn't have a shape by itself. Therefore, it seems to be taking all the various shapes and forms. So that's how beautifully Kathopanishad explains that. So, this is the kind of samyoga which Patanjali is speaking about. So, let us try to look into it with greater details, but that is next time. Namaskar, all of you.